But if you look around this entire area, you'll see that there are tons of people from the holiday community looking at and trying to figure out what happened. And right now, there's no word on what exactly the cause of this fire was. If you take a look behind me at this tree, you can get kind of an idea of just how bad things were last night. DPS Sergeant Dan Busing tells me that a man's remains were found in the ditch behind me along Highway 287. The victim of the crash on I-44 tonight was a 53-year-old woman. He says that there were two vehicles involved in the crash, and she was ejected from her car and pronounced dead at the scene. Lawmakers in D.C. are pushing to make backseat car alert systems mandatory. This 54-page report written by City Attorney Kinley Hegland contains several interviews, signed affidavits, statements, and even emails from city officials. And here's what that means for your tax rate. Now, when the TRE passed in June, Wichita Falls voters agreed to get rid of the INS and to raise the M&O to $1.17. Breweries like the one I'm standing in front of right now depend on the ability to come up with new recipes, and they don't just count on the foot traffic that comes through their doors to sell beer. They also sell it to retailers, but because of the government shutdown, they're at a standstill.
It's frustrating for us. It's definitely kind of put a halt and a damper on some things.
The president and head brewer at Wichita Falls Brewing Company, Matt Beachy, says they had plans to release new craft beers and also a plan to start expanding and sell beer to Oklahoma. But now they're in limbo because of the government shutdown. Breweries like Wichita Falls Brewing Company need a certificate of label approval in order to sell beer across state lines. They also need approval to make new brews with certain ingredients. Their approval comes from the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, but even the website is completely closed down at the moment. So Beachy isn't even able to get the barrel rolling.
We haven't even got the application into them yet because we're waiting on the federal government.
Even when the government is operating, approval for new formulas and labels takes about 3 weeks. So that process will take even longer when things do open back up. Of course, Beachy hopes that happens sooner rather than later because he says they come up with new beers every couple of months to appeal to customer demand. He feels the longer things are on hold, the less they'll see people coming through their doors.
A lot of people are seasonal drinkers, so as these seasons change, you'll see beers change at restaurants, at bars, and even in the grocery store. And if we or any other brewery can't stay up with that seasonal change, it's going to affect the business.
The pecans in China were kind of unheard of maybe 10 years ago. There was a group of people from Texas and Georgia went over there about 10 years ago, and I was one of them.
Tim Muntz has had his pecan orchard for over 30 years.
And they were buying about 2 million pounds a year, and so they went from 2 million to 100 million pounds in just a few years because they really love pecans.
But the last couple of years, things have taken a rough turn.
A tornado last spring, and then we had a freeze the spring before.
And on top of the usual challenges farming brings, a trade war began last year between the U.S. and China.
And when the trade war started, they went up to 47%. And so when that happened, China pretty much quit buying any pecans from us.
Causing Muntz to lose half his profit last year, and he's having to cut back on equipment expenses. The trade war is escalating, and there isn't a clear sign that an agreement between the two countries will happen anytime soon.
I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it, so I'm taking on China. I'm taking on China on trade. And you know what? We're winning.
President Donald Trump also tweeted about the most recent tariffs imposed by China, saying that, quote, "Our American companies are hereby ordered to immediately start looking for an alternative to China." Muntz says he and other farmers have been looking to start trading with India and European countries, but they aren't buying in as quickly as China did previously. As a farmer, Muntz is used to having to adjust and roll with the punches, but he says by this time next year, it would be ideal for the China and U.S. trade war to end.
Most of the growers, I think, still support Trump's trying to make a good deal, but, you know, it's hurting our pocket, and we're ready to see something happen here for too long, we hope.
It's not just the appraisal district that have been receiving these calls. The Wichita Falls BBB and tax collectors' offices have as well. Homeowners have been receiving this form. And at a glance, it looks like an official government document. But in reality, it has nothing to do with taxes.
If you don't do this, you won't get it unless you send $45. See right there, you have to put $45 in the envelope and send them to them.
Barbara Stivers is a retired business owner in Burke Burnett. Just last Friday, she received a form in her mail that showed it came from Austin. The company offered to help homeowners file for a designation of homestead.
So I read the back and it looked official, but still there was something in my mind that this is not right. You have to get the money back by July the 12th, and I just, it wasn't even a week for you to get it.
The Wichita County Appraisal District has been getting lots of calls about this homestead designation services form.
What they're asking you to do is to let them complete a form for you. And for a homestead designation to be effective, you have to file it for record in the county clerk's office. Then you would have to pay the filing fee at the county clerk's office in addition to this $45 for that to be in effect.
A designation of homestead can help protect you from losing your home if you're being pursued by creditors or if you're being sued, but it's not required by law. There's print at the bottom of the page that says designation of homestead under tax property code is distinct from the homestead tax exemption, meaning they are two completely separate forms. It also says that those who have already applied for tax exemption will eventually get a designation of homestead for free automatically. But the mere mention of the words tax exemption is misleading some homeowners.
We did have someone who was actually bringing us $45 to help complete something.
Barbara wasn't fooled by the form, and she hopes others her age aren't either.
You're on Social Security, okay? And you pay $45 for nothing. Somebody's putting it in their pocket someplace else. It hurts because that $45 is quite a bit to quite a few people.
Now, although the Homestead Designation Services Company sent its mail from Austin, it's actually based in Arizona. The BBB has since given it an F rating on their website, and they want to encourage people to, again, look at the fine print and be thorough when you're looking through those types of forms like Barbara was. So hopefully you can save yourself a headache and some money. I'm Camille Connor reporting live in Wichita Falls, News Channel 6.
Let's see where those two are.
In 2007, Robert Terry was trying to find an old friend who was buried in Nocona Cemetery.
I knew that his grave was somewhere over here, but exactly, I couldn't remember exactly, so I just walked around trying to find it.
That's when he came up with a new idea.
I've been dabbling in computers since 1982, and I enjoy the programming.
The city gave him information on every person buried in the cemetery. He created a website mapping out each grave site with pictures of the headstone and additional details like their birthplace and service in the military.
There was 157 that they had marked unknown. They knew somebody was buried there, but they didn't know who it was.
So Terry has been researching for over a decade.
Went to the library, researching old newspapers and stuff, and going on Ancestry and stuff like that, trying to get information, about the dates and maiden names, where they were born at, what town, and where they died at.
He's gone through newspapers dating all the way back to 1910 and has since been able to identify 44 of the unmarked graves. He's made it his passion to change that.
Well, I went before the council requesting funds to purchase headstones for all these unknown graves.
They approved. Now every morning he lays down a new headstone.
I started out laying about 5 a day, but that's kind of tough on an old man like me.
The years of research, computer programming, and physical labor earned Terry multiple awards from the city of Nocona.
I don't really like the recognition. What I do like about it is that it puts it to the forefront of all these people that I have found that were unknown, that, excuse me, they're not unknown anymore, at least to me.
Camille Connor, News Channel 6.